Hello, I'm Alicia Davis,
And I'm Stacy Watson.
and we are the owners and coaches at Transformative Leadership Strategies, TLS.
Yep.
And we have been doing a multi-part series, right, Stace?
Yes. So the last few weeks, we've been talking about managing challenging feelings. And
Yes,
we talked a lot about different ways you can think about feelings, ways that you can become more familiar with your feelings. And then last week, we sort of shifted into, because often when we're having those challenging feelings, it can be because we are anticipating what could be a hard conversation, right?
that's right.
Whether it
That's
has to
right.
do with something related to work or something related to the coronavirus or social justice. I mean, it could be any number of things that we might be thinking about in terms of having a conversation, and perhaps we're feeling a little anxious or apprehensive about it. And last week, we talked about some of the elements of having that conversation be kind of courageous in nature or brave in nature, right?
That's right. That's right. And, one of we love Brene Brown, and one of the quotes that she has is, I'm here to get it right, not to be right. And part
Yes.
of what we talked about last time is really your approach into a conversation that might be courageous or brave. And that approach is really, how do you operate from self-awareness, that you're there to understand, that you're open to other possibilities of other ideas or opinions different than yours, that you can stay as open and vulnerable as possible without putting up the walls, right? Distancing, shutting down, being reactive, staying true to your
Right.
values, right? That's what we talked about last week
Yeah.
as the
And so,
elements.
right. And that all sort of helps us get to the first part of this process, which is really the preparation, right? So,
That's right.
this is the part of having the courageous or brave conversation that doesn't even involve the other person yet, right? This is
That's
all the
right.
work that I'm doing myself. So, as you were thinking about whatever this conversation is that you might be expecting or thinking about having, this would be the upfront work you could think about,
That's right.
and this whole idea. And we started it by thinking about feelings, right? To start to really begin to tap into, well, am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling apprehensive? Am I concerned that, something might go wrong? I mean, whatever it is, like, what are those feelings that I'm having and what thoughts am I having? Because Alicia, I don't know about you, but sometimes, and maybe you that are listening, this happens to you as well, sometimes when I'm thinking about having what I think could be a hard conversation, I've already had the conversation in my head, right? I've
Oh,
already
sure.
thought about what I'm going to say, what they're going to say, what I'm going to say again. And that's a story, right?
That's a story. It's like we make it up completely, right? Like there is a certain amount, I think, what we're talking about here, of the preparation and how you want to come across, how you want to stay very clear and true to your points or to your frame of reference or to the outcome that you want to have. And, that's what you can prepare for. You can't prepare for what the other person is going to say or do. There's no way to do that. And that's really wasted energy of mind and feelings and reactions. So the preparation is really focusing on, what is the outcome that I want to have? How can I present it in a way that I am listening and hopefully will be listened to? And how can I really stay present? And it might even be taking a few moments to take a few deep breaths, to center, to just really, even before you walk into the room, see the person, start the conversation, just really get connected with yourself. And
Yes.
and and that's really all we have control over.
It's so true. I actually had this happen this week to me
Yeah, I was gonna
personally,
say,
right?
I know. Yeah.
It was super interesting. So it was in my personal life, and it was, a person that I know kind of in my life, and we had to have a hard conversation. And um, it was interesting because in the beginning, as I was anticipating having this conversation, I had all kinds of feelings. Let me tell you, I was frustrated, I was angry, I was, all of those things.
Sure.
And so then when it became clear that we were going to be having a conversation, we had connected, yes, we're going to have a phone call conversation. I found myself really thinking about what is the outcome that I'm hoping to have here.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that that actually helped me to shift a little bit. I mean, I still felt very frustrated. It was a frustrating situation. And
Yep.
I was really able to be clear on what I needed to have as an outcome, or at least what I wanted to have as an outcome.
Right.
And, you know, fortunately, I feel like I was able to get there and we were able to kind of work through the really hard conversation. And I think that preparation up front mattered so much. And it was just interesting. We're talking about this week, and I literally feel like I just lived it.
That's right. And it doesn't necessarily need to take a long time, right? This might
That's
be
right.
something that you're doing in 5 or 10 minutes.
That's
You know,
right.
right? And of course, it depends on the content of the conversation. And I think also how important the conversation is to have, who you're having it with, right? There might be different levels of preparation. And it can be, it's not necessarily simple, but it can be a shorter period of time than a longer period of time.
Yeah, and I would just say for any of you who are thinking about this conversation for yourself, one thing I noticed in my conversation was that my ability to be focused on sort of the points I wanted to try to make, the questions I thought we should try to answer, and some of these outcomes over a period of time, maybe 2, 3, 4 minutes of the conversation, I felt the other person begin to kind of shift their demeanor a little bit. It was
Mm,
almost as if I was setting a tone in the way I was approaching the conversation that really invited that person, whether they were aware of it or not, to kind of match my tone a little more closely. And so we started here and we were able to kind of get here, you know? So it wasn't here, but it was still here, which felt like a more productive space to be in the conversation.
that's
And
right.
I thought that was very interesting that my preparation and my sort of my approach to the conversation actually seemed to shift both of our conversation. Does
Sure.
that make
Well, and
sense?
it's yeah, it's energy, and you weren't physically together, and it's actually called mirroring, right? Like you showed up the way that you wanted to show up, and uh, you know, that person just really started um, to respond to that in a calmer way, even though it wasn't as calm as you both might have wanted. It helped calm the situation. So again, so you actually are foreshadowing what we're going to talk about next week, which is how to really effectively engage and then
Mm,
close the conversation, right?
yeah,
So that's
absolutely.
perfect. So if we hope this has been helpful for you.
Yes, we do.
And if you have any questions, reach out to us, info@tlstransforms.com. And we'll
Yes.
talk to you next week. Thank you
Yes.
so
Thank
much
you
for
so
listening.
much. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.